In this video, I survived 200 days in Minecraft Hardcore. Similarly to my 100 days video, I also set myself some goals for this challenge. These mainly being defeating an ocean monument, acquiring another beacon, and finally respawning and defeating the Ender Dragon. Stay tuned to see if I was able to achieve my goals. But quickly, before the video starts, only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are subscribed. So if you do enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. So, it was day 101 and I was happy to be back in my world, but I didn't want to waste any time, so I went straight back to work. Now, seeing as I used my elytra a lot and this cost me a lot of rockets, I decided that my first project would be a gunpowder farm, as that would be the first step into automating rocket production. This farm would require a lot of resources, one of them being stone, so I enabled haste on my beacon and went mining. By day 103 I had gathered enough stone, but I would also need a lot of glass and trapdoors, so I went ahead and gathered some sand and put it in some furnaces. While that was smelting, I gathered quite a bit of wood. I also went to the nether to gather some soul soil for soul campfires. On day 105, I crafted all the trapdoors the farm required and stored the rest of the materials in some shulker boxes. After finding a big ocean to build in, I spent days 106 to 110 building the creeper farm. On day 111, the farm was complete, so I spent the next 5 days AFKing on the AFK platform. On day 116, I flew down from the AFK platform to the collection chest, and let's just say 2 full shulker boxes of gunpowder should last me quite a while. I then flew home, harvested all my sugarcane and crafted some rockets. Now that I had a gunpowder farm, the next step was to build an automatic sugarcane farm. I crafted all the necessary items and dug out the wall next to my wheat farm. I managed to build 2 rows of the farm, but I was lacking the resources to expand it, one of them being gold, so I took the opportunity to build a gold farm. On day 120, I started gathering the resources for a gold farm. The gold farm required some turtle eggs, so I flew away from my base in search for turtles. After flying a couple thousand blocks, I found some, so I bred them and managed to harvest 18 turtle eggs. On the way back home, I came across an ocean monument, so I wrote down the coordinates for later. I needed more shulker boxes to store the blocks that the farm required. So I went to the end and spent days 121 and 122 collecting shulker shells. I managed to get 16 shulker shells, so I crafted them into 8 shulker boxes. Another resource I required was magma blocks, so I went to the nether and spent days 122 to 128 collecting 9 shulker boxes of magma blocks. While gathering magma blocks, my silk touch netherite pickaxe broke, so I replaced it with a diamond pickaxe with the same enchantments temporarily. The farm also required some obsidian. So on day 129, I stocked up on golden carrots, took nearly 3 stacks of iron blocks and my beacon to set up a haste through beacon in the end. I then mined one of the end crystal towers for 11 stacks of obsidian until day 130. After that, I took down the beacon pyramid I had previously placed and returned my beacon home. I also needed some glass, so I collected 15 stacks of sand and smelted it into glass. Another resource I required was a lot of wood. So on day 131 I gathered a bunch of wood and crafted some trapdoors, some chests and some hoppers. I then took a villager out of my villager breeding system to get a frostwalker box, since it would make building with magma blocks a whole lot easier. It took a while, but I managed to get a frostwalker trade. I then traded my armorer for some diamond brutes, disenchanted them and added the frostwalker enchantment. Seeing as I was done with the collecting resources, I took all the shulker boxes filled with the materials and went to the nether. I dug a stairway up to the bedrock roof of the nether and used an ender pearl to teleport above the nether roof, where I started building the gold farm on day 132. On day 142, I finished the gold farm and AFK'd it till day 150. On day 151, I went to the collection system of the farm in the overworld to check how much gold it had collected. After crafting all the gold nuggets into gold blocks, I had over 11 stacks of gold blocks, which was way more than I needed. Now that I had gold, I could focus on the other materials I needed to expand the sugarcane farm. One of these materials was quartz. So I went to the nether and utilizing my fortune 3 pickaxe, I quickly gathered 3 stacks of quartz. Cobblestone was another resource I was lacking. so I went into my mine and gathered about a charcoal box full of cobblestone. I then spent the next couple of days caving for redstone, since it was required but I didn't have any left. On day 155, having collected all the necessary resources, I crafted up all the materials the sugarcane farm required and stored them in a charcoal box. I then spent days 156 to 159 expanding the aforementioned sugarcane farm. The next project I wanted to complete was a way to get to the gold farm. Since it was above bedrock, it was a bit tricky to get to it. Luckily, there was a way to break bedrock to make an entrance to the farm. This method required TNT, so I gathered some sand and used my gunpowder from my gunpowder farm to craft a stack of TNT. I then collected all the other items I needed, like pistons, obsidian, levers, and trapdoors, and headed to the nether. I built the contraption on top of the bedrock block I wanted to break, and it worked, so I also broke the bedrock blocks around it. After breaking 14 bedrock blocks, I ran out of TNT, so I went back home to restock my supplies. This time, I gathered enough resources for 6 stacks of TNT, so I crafted the TNT and went back to the nether to finish what I had started. On day 165, I was done breaking bedrock, but my armor was severely damaged, so I traveled to my enderman farm to repair it. Next on the agenda was improving my nether hub, but as always, I needed some resources to do that. One of them was quartz, so I spent days 166 to 170 gathering a full charcoal box of quartz blocks. Shroomlights being another resource I required, I spent days 171 and 172 collecting 5 stacks of shroomlights. I wanted to use blackstone for the floor, so on day 173 I gathered 9 stacks of blackstone. Next thing I needed was white stained glass, so I gathered 5 stacks of sand, smelted it and dyed it white. Then on day 174, construction on the nether hub finally began. On day 176, a large part of the nether hub was done, but I ran out of some resources, including quartz and iron for trapdoors, so I went to my iron farm and AFK'd there until day 180. On day 181, I checked how much the farm had produced. It had produced roughly 2 stacks of iron blocks, which was enough to finish the nether hub. So I restocked on golden carrots and went to the nether to mine some more quartz. After mining quartz for 4 days, on day 185 I had another full charcoal box of quartz and mined another 9 stacks of blackstone. On day 186 I continued building the nether hub. On day 188, having completed the nether hub, I wanted another beacon in my base, so I went hunting for wither skeleton skulls. I flew around the nether and found a nether fortress with a lot of wither skeletons. With some luck, I was able to collect 3 wither skeleton skulls. On day 189, I went to the end and dug out a small space underneath the portal, where I spawned the wither and killed him without him being able to move, giving me another nether star. I then went home, crafted a beacon and built another igloo to house it. I decided to choose resistance and regeneration as my beacon effects. I then went to the nether and killed some ghast for some ghast tears, which I then used to craft end crystals to respawn the ender dragon at a later time. On day 191, I decided it was time to defeat an ocean monument, so I stocked up on fireworks and golden carrots, crafted some buckets for milk, and flew to the ocean monument I had found looking for turtles. I milked some cows on an island nearby, and utilizing the milk I was able to defeat all 3 elder guardians. I then collected all the sea lanterns I could find and flew back home. I wasn't quite happy with the amount of beacon effects around my base, so on day 193 I went back to the nether in search for wither skeletons. This time I wasn't quite as lucky as last time, but I still managed to get 3 wither skeleton skulls by day 194. On day 195 I used the same trick at the end to easily defeat the wither and crafted yet another beacon. I also gathered snow to build yet another igloo to house it. I built the beacon pyramid inside the igloo and chose strength 2 as my beacon effect. I then took my end crystals, crafted a stack of glass bottles, crafted some beds, restocked on carrots and went to the end to respawn the ender dragon. I placed down the end crystals on the sides of the portal and watched as the dragon was respawned. I started off the dragon fight by filling all my glass bottles up with dragon's breath. I then took out the end crystals with the help of my bow and my elytra and used some beds to inflict damage onto the dragon. I finally finished her off with some accurate bow shots and collected the XP. Seeing as I had completed completed all my goals, I had some time left, so I thought I'd gather some netherite to turn my diamond pickaxe and hoe into netherite tools. I went to my wool farm and crafted a charcoal box full of beds and headed to the nether. I then started mining by exploding the beds. Thankfully, not long after, I had gathered all the ancient debris I needed, so I went home. On day 198, I put the ancient debris into the furnace to smelt, and while that was happening, I wanted to add another farmer to my trading hall. So I took a villager out of my breeder, infected him and cured him. While I was waiting for the curing process to finish, I crafted the netherite ingots and upgraded my diamond hoe and pickaxe. I then gathered some stone to build a pathway through my base. On day 200, I checked back on the villager and he was fully cured. So I pushed him into one of the trading hall slots, turned him into a farmer and leveled him up to master level, where he traded me 3 golden carrots for an emerald, just like my other farmer. With that, the 200 days were over and the challenge was complete.